Hi, this is Munson with Munson Music, and we're going to talk about how you can play a song called Roll Over Beethoven, and I'm kind of working off Chuck Berry's 1956 recording for this lesson. And it's a little weird actually. A capo first fret will get you very, very, very close to the E flat actually that he's starting on, although you may have to go to your tuners and kind of loosen him up just a hair. He's about, I don't know, working it off of the capo 1, he's probably about 15 or 20 cents sharp. Or flat. He's flat. So you want to loosen up your tuners a little bit after we put the capo on, actually, if you want to match the recording. But we're going to start actually kind of with our intro solo. It becomes our verse chorus, which is kind of a 12-bar blues in D. And the way you play D major, first finger is going to go to the G string on the 2nd fret. Second finger is going to go to the high on the 2nd fret, and third finger is going to go to the B string on the 3rd fret. And if you kind of strum just the D, G, B, and E, kind of the skinny 4 strings, that sounds a D major chord, and it sounds really, really happy. And at the very, very beginning, actually, of our solo part, it's almost like a big stop time thing, and you may want to just do kind of a big down and kind of kill it on the strings, actually, for that first D major. And then from the D, actually, we kind of pick it up on the solo on a G major chord. And the way you play G major, first finger goes to the A string on the 2nd fret, second finger goes to the low E string on the 3rd fret, and the third finger goes to the high E string on the 3rd fret. And if you strum all those together, that sounds a G major chord, and it sounds really, really happy. And then from the G, we're going to be going back to a D major chord. When we play D major, oh, well, we already talked about D major. But then from the D, we're going to be going to an A major chord. But the way you play A major, first finger is going to go to the D on the 2nd fret, second finger on the G string on the 2nd fret, and third finger on the B string on the 2nd fret. And if you strum all those together, that sounds like A major, and it sounds really, really happy. And then from the A, we're going to be going to the G major, and then kind of ending up on the D major chord at the very, very end. Now, a lot of times with a song like this, though, to make it more interesting, I like adding something called a strum pattern. And one of my favorite strum patterns for a 4/4 like this is down, down, up, down, up. So if you took the D and just tried that, you'd have down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up. So we tried that through our verse chorus. Then we'd have D with a down, down, up, down, G, down, down, up, down, D, down, down, up, down, D, down, down, up, down, G, down, down, up, down, G, down, down, up, down, D, down, down, up, down, B, down, down, up, down, B, down, down, up, down, G, down, down, up, down, D, down, down, up, down, C, down, down, up, down, up. And then the rest of our song, we're basically repeating that form. Now the weird part is to play along with Chuck Berry, instead of starting on a D major chord, we're actually starting on an E flat major chord. So what you want to do is take a capo, and if you put the capo on 1st fret, then now your D major is really an E flat major. You may have to go back to the tuners and loosen them up just a hair, actually, to kind of match Chuck exactly. And your G major chord is really an A flat major chord, and your A major chord is really a B flat major chord. But if we tried that through our solo at the very, very beginning, we have kind of the D with the stop time, kind of waiting. And then we go to the G major and kind of pick up the strum pattern on that. So then we have G with a down, down, up, down, G, down, down, up, down, D, down, down, up, down, D, down, down, up, down, B, down, down, up, down, G, down, down, up, down, D, down, down, up, down, D, down, down, up, down, up. Now there are also some really cool lead licks through that part. And if you wanted to kind of try and match Chuck, and this is a little weird, like I said, you may have to loosen up the strings just a little bit. And now I'm thinking real frets actually on that intro lick, but you could start 11th fret on the G string and kind of do a hammer on the 12th fret. So I got kind of 11th fret on the G, put the 2nd finger down to kind of carry the sound to 12th fret, and then 11 on the B, 13 on the B, and then we go to 11th on the high E string and kind of go a little crazy on that 11, and then we go to 14 on the high E, 11 on the high E, 14 on the B, 11 on the B, and then 11 on the G string is kind of a hammer on the 12, and then we go 13 on the D, and then 11 on the D, and then we go to 13 on the D, and go a little crazy, and then 11 on the B string and kind of go a little crazy there, and then from that we come into 13 on the G, 11 on the G, and then 14 on the D, and then 11 on the G, and then 13 on the D, and then we kind of end up with a little double stop lick where you could kind of take your first finger and bar. Oh yeah. Then we do the double stop on the 11th fret twice, And then if you take your third finger, you can kind of flatten them over the 13 on the E and B, and do one hit there, and then back to 11 for 2 hits, back to 13 for 1 hit, and then we play 13 on the high E twice, and then 11 on the B, 13 on the G, and then 11 on the G is kind of a hammer on the 12, and then 13 on the D, 11 on the D, and then we kind of end up on the 13 on the D. Kind of going a little crazy there. So all the way through that whole intro solo, you got 11, 12, 11, 13, 11, 11, 11, 11, 11, 11, 11, 11, 11, 14, 11, 14, 11, 11, 12, 13, 11, 13, 4, 11, 11, 13, 11, 13, 11, 13, and then 11, 13, 11, 13, 13, 13, 11, 13, 11, 12, 13, 11, 13. So you want to kind of play around with that too. Now, because of the bluesy nature of this, though, too, you may want to think about substituting in some things called dominant 7 chords. And so instead of D major, another chord that you could kind of use would be a D7 chord. When we play D7, first finger is going to go to the B string on the first fret, second finger on the G string on the second fret, and the third finger on the high E string on the second fret. And if you kind of strum just the D, G, B, and E, that sounds a D7 chord, or D dominant 7 chord, which sounds really nasty. So you may want to think about using that little bluesier D chord. And then instead of the G major, you could actually substitute in something called G7. When you play G7, first finger is going to go to the high E on the first fret, second finger on the A string on the second fret, the third finger on the low E string on the third fret. And if you strum all those together, that sounds a G7 chord. That sounds really nasty. And then from the G7, instead of the A, you may want to think about using an A7 chord. When we play the 7, first finger goes to the D string on the second fret, second finger goes to the B string on the second fret. If you strum the A string and the high E string, then that sounds like A7 chord. So you could kind of work it with working our down, down, up, down, but with the dominant 7. So if we tried our verse chorus that way, we'd have D with a down, down, up, down, G7, down, down, up, down, D, down, down, up, down, D, down, down, up, down, G, down, down, up, down, G, down, down, up, down, D7, down, down, up, down, D7, down, down, up, down, B, down, down, up, down, G, down, down, up, down, D, down, down, up, down, D, down, down, up, down, up. Now for myself, something else that I like to add to a song like this too is bass notes. And a lot of times on that first down to the down, down, up, down, up, you can throw in a bass note for the chorus. So on the D7, you could do the D string for your bass. Bass, down, up, down. Then on the G, you'd have the low E string for your bass. And now I'm kind of thinking a little bit of a swing thing behind this. This is a little weird. But anyway, on the A7, you'd have the A string for your bass. So bass, down, up, down, up. So we tried our verse chorus with our bass. Then we tried our verse chorus with our basses. We'd have D with a D bass, down, up, down, G with low E bass, down, down, D with the D bass, down, down, D with the D bass, down, down, G with low E bass, down, down, G with low E bass, down, down, D with the D bass, down, down, D with the D bass, down, down, up A with an A bass, down, down, G with low E bass, down, down, D with the D bass, down, down, D with the D bass, down, down, up. Now something else I think about adding to it too, though, is some blues licks actually, and this can be kind of cool just to play around with. So on the D chord, you could actually do something I call the D lick, which is where you do your first finger on the G string second fret and kind of strum just the D and the G strings together as kind of a down up. And what you end up doing is kind of a down up with the first finger, and then you take your third finger and go to the G string on the fourth fret, and then do a down up there. So you got kind of 1, 1, 3, 3, down, up, down, up. And now I'm kind of doing something called a swing eighth, where you're kind of thinking long shorts, long, short, 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 long, short. And then for the A chord, you could actually do that same thing and kind of work it on the A and the D strings. So now I got my first finger on the D string going from the second to the fourth fret, kind of thinking down with the first finger down, with the third finger down, up for what I call the A lick. So if you wanted to, you could kind of substitute in the licks for your D's and your A chords, and then kind of keep your G chord kind of working off the down, down, up, down. So we tried our verse chorus that way. You'd have D with the D lick, G with low E bass up, D with the D bass, D licks, G with the bass, down, up, down, G with the bass, down, up, down, G licks. So two of the licks is kind of equal in one of the strum patterns. kind of happens traditionally in blues too is sometimes you feel things in twos and sometimes you feel things in threes. So randomly, like on the D chord, on the beat, actually you could kind of feel three on each one, and that's called a triplet, where you're thinking 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2. So I'm still doing down ups, but I'm kind of feeling them in three. So I end up with kind of divisions of down up down plus up down up. So on any of those chords, actually, if you want to build up a lot of energy at the end of the verse chorus, actually, this is a good way to do it. Is kind of break out of the D with the strum pattern and kind of go into triplets. So that might be something else you want to play around with. And with your down ups, actually, you could feel things in twos. And a lot of times you're thinking swing eights, so you're thinking just like in the licks, we're doing long shorts, long short long short long short long short. You could really go back and forth between the two and kind of end up with some really cool fills through it. So you could have the D with kind of your down, up, down, up, down, up, down, G7, D licks, kind of mix it up between those different things. D licks, G with the bass, down, down, or even up bass, up, down, kind of feeling the eighth notes. D, A with an A bass, down, G with Louis bass, down, D licks, and then maybe a D7 with a triplet to start over again. So there's a lot of different ways you can kind of use those ideas, actually kind of mix them through the form. I've got a couple videos, actually there's a video on Before You Accuse Me that I did where I really kind of examined a lot of those D licks and the A licks. So if you're interested in variations, that might be kind of a cool thing to try. Basically repeating that until we get to our very last time through our first chorus. And that last time, actually right after the A major, we do kind of a big hit on the G chord, and then we got a cool little lick that kind of comes in where you play the open D and then go to second fret on the D and do a hammer on to the fourth fret on the D, and then we go to open G and then second fret on the G twice, and then fourth on the G, and then second on the G, and then third on the B string. But then we go back to third on the D for a hammer on the fourth fret, and then kind of go to third fret on the B string. Or it would have been third fret on over Capo, it's really forward. So all together you got D, O, 2, 4, O, 2, 2, 4, 2, 3, 3, 4, 3, D chord at the very end. So coming out of that last A chord, you got kind of the A. Out of that last chord, you got the A bass, down, up, down, G hit. At the very end for your outro part. Now, if you want to kind of jam with Chuck Berry too, actually, a lot of the licks that he's playing around with actually are coming out of something called an E-flat minor pentatonic scale. And just to kind of go over that really quick too, you'd have 11 on the low E string, 14 on the low E string, and on the A string you've got 11 to 13. I'm thinking real frets, not relative to Capo. And then if you go to the D string, you'd have 11 to 13. On the G, you've got 11 to 13. On the B string, you've got 11 to 14. High, you've got 11 to 14. So kind of playing a E flat and a G flat and an A flat and a B flat and a D flat and then an E flat and then a G flat and an A flat and then a B flat and then a D flat and then a E flat and then a G flat. So there's all kinds of different things you could do actually. I've got a video on talking with the guitar that talks about the different things you could do with pentatonic scale. Or you might want to check out my video on Lucille. Actually, kind of goes over a lot of those with an E minor pentatonic scale. And actually, you can even detune your guitar by a half step: E flat, B flat, G flat, D flat, A flat, E flat, and actually kind of have that match up with Chuck Berry really close. So you can do hammer-on licks through that scale. You can do pull-off licks through that scale. You can work slides in that scale. Chuck's a big fan of the double stops, where you kind of play two notes at the same time. Or you might want to work slide licks with double stops too. That's or bends. Actually, he loves bends. So you might want to take those notes and kind of press into the guitar and press up or down and kind of play around with those. Now, Chuck normally does not play the same solo every time he plays it too, so it might be kind of interesting to see like which version you're listening to. And like I said, I'm kind of working off that 56 6 album recordings, so you may want to kind of play around with that. But that's the basics of how you could strum through Roll Over Beethoven by Chuck Berry. So good luck!